right, guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast. And today's guest is none other than another real estate investor like myself, but he's gotten a little bit more along the path with some commercial development and stuff. But I'll let you talk about that here. But we've got Greg Dickerson on the podcast this morning out of the state of Virginia. Welcome to the podcast, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, Brandon. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So we were speaking briefly a second ago. You've been in real estate since 97. What made you choose that avenue?
So that's just how I started out. The only two things I've ever done in my life are construction and restaurants. And I didn't go to college, graduated high school, went in the Navy right out of high school. And after I got out of the Navy, I kind of launched my career. I was in the restaurant industry. I did retail in the Navy. And I always had a side business, construction business during the day. So I'm a natural born entrepreneur. As a little kid, I was the guy that was out cutting grass, raking leaves, walking dogs, washing cars. I'd knock on your door. My name's Greg. I live down the street. I need to make some money. I'll do anything. What do you need me to do?
Yeah.
And so that's how I started out. So I just always wanted my own business. I was always interested in construction. And I learned, by reading books, watching This Old House and things like that back in the day before the internet. And, did my own projects around the house. And then I was working in a restaurant. And there was this guy doing an addition on the restaurant, and he hired me to come clean up after him. And I'm a hard worker. So, I went and I was just cleaning up literally the bricks in the block that he was knocking down, building an addition. I was shoveling it into the wheelbarrow and dumping it in the dumpster. And he liked my work ethic. And I started following him around and learned a few things. And so I started building a little construction background with him. And I was working in restaurants at night, and this was during the time right before I went into the military. And then I went in the military. I was in California. I got out and I went to work for a guy that was doing commercial and industrial construction. Learned from him, and then I moved back to Virginia Beach, which is where I'm from. And I was working in restaurants again at night while I was doing construction during the day, and managing some restaurants. And I had a little construction business doing decks and fences and the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I'm a surfer, and that's like the Hawaii of the East Coast, the best surf on the East Coast. And I moved there, and I moved down there to open restaurants, and I got into construction instead, started doing remodeling and handyman stuff. And my first year in business there, I did $250,000 in sales. 7 years later, I was the largest builder developer in the area, one of the largest builder developers in the area, doing about $30 million a year. And I started 12 other companies along the way, a couple of restaurants, but I shifted from restaurants full-time to construction and renovations. And the progress was doing small renovations, some flips, then building spec houses, then doing bigger deals, getting into commercial, doing land development. Got my real estate broker's license in 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. In North Carolina, where it's a broker state, so you can go right out of the gate with your own broker's license. Just take the classes and you're a broker. So I had my own firm. I had some agents working for me. So I built a real estate company, a real estate agency company. I built a construction development company. I had restaurants, retail. I had other construction businesses like Hurricane Shutter Company, Storm Shutter Company, Pool Spas Landscaping, a plumbing company, painting company. So I would start businesses. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, back in 97. And he said, start businesses to generate cash flow to invest in other assets. So that's what I did. And I always had 4, 5, 6 businesses at one time, and I'd build them up, sell them off, and I would reinvest the profits in other things. So that's me, long story short, and, my career path. And it's been over 30 years, and I've done $250 million in deals. And, I'm still out doing stuff every day. I'm in my mobile office looking at a building behind me, right there to do something with. So I'm out every day hunting deals and making it happen. I'm 52 now, so I do fewer, bigger deals. I outsource everything turnkey. I don't self-perform anymore. Back in the day, I had a company with 20, 30 employees, and, we self-performed, and we were general contractors, and we built everything in-house. But now I outsource it all. I use all turnkey contractors, and I just do the fun stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's a lot to unfold there. No, what really was on my mind while you're going through that was running multiple successful, profitable businesses, and I assume you couldn't have done that on your own. So you built some sort of team. Did you have like a mothership company that kind of managed the deal, or you built one, put a manager in place, you built another, put a manager in place, such in that fashion?
Yeah. So every company generally that I was involved in, so my main company was the building company and real estate company. So, first and foremost, I'm a leader, delegator, motivator. That's what I teach people how to do. That's what you have to be in business to be able to grow and scale. You have to be a leader. You have to be able to delegate at a very high level, and you have to motivate your people. You have to inspire results out of your team. So my main company, I started myself, and I'd never built a house before I started building houses. So what I did was I looked at the biggest company in the area who I wanted to be, and I hired some of their best people to come work for me and help me build this company. So I instantly overnight had the credibility of being in business for 20 years, because the company that I hired these people from had been there 20 years. They were doing 60 million a year, building multi-million-dollar homes. That's what I wanted to be. So I hired their people and I learned from them. But more importantly, I put them in a position to be successful. I coached them to success, and I let them do their job. Whereas a lot of people will hire somebody who's very good at what they do, and they'll try to control them, micromanage them, and hold them back. I'm
Right.
totally the opposite. I find champions, I put them in positions, aces in places, and I coach them to success.
Yeah.
That was my main business. All of the other companies, the way those came about were other operators either already in business and they had a small business and they might have been struggling and were looking to grow and scale. So I would do it through them. So I would coach them and I would put systems and processes in place and help them, recruit, hire, train, lead, delegate, motivate their teams, build their teams, and I would coach them. So I never spent one day in any of the businesses owned other than my main business. I just coached and did it vicariously through the operators. And it was usually
Right.
somebody already in business, or like my pool spa landscaping company. It was a guy that was selling me pools and spas. He came to me and said, "Hey, I've always wanted my own business. You're buying 30 to 40 of these a year. Why don't we go ahead and start a company? You can buy them wholesale. I'll run everything. You put up the money and we'll do that."
Yeah.
So that was the other way it would happen. Somebody would come to me and say, "Hey, I want to do this thing." So I would coach them and build the business through them. So what I am, leader, delegator, motivator. I'm a master marketer. I'm a salesman. So those are my skill sets, my strengths. And then I would fill in my administrative weaknesses with people. So I had a chief financial officer, accounting, bookkeeper, office manager. So that's kind of how I did that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've always thought about similar deals, because you see the onesie twosie lawn maintenance guys, and you have the pool cleaner guys where they're doing 20, 30 pools a month, and they need growth, and sometimes it's only just a little bit of guidance, a little seed money to get them from 30 pools a month to 150 a month. And that's an interesting business model. I'm glad I've seen somebody else successfully do that.
Yeah, and then we added landscaping with it for that reason. So in our market, it was fragmented, where you had pools and spa companies and landscaping companies, but every house pretty much needed both, because we were in a resort market. So the houses that had the pools needed landscaping as well. So we were there doing the pool, might as well do the landscaping. So we would show up, one service, one truck, and we would do it all.
Yeah.
So we would knock out the landscaping maintenance, knock out the pool maintenance, and we were gone to the next house. So that was kind of, the way I operate and looked at it was, how can I consolidate efforts? How can I utilize equipment to its fullest? If I got a truck on the road and that overhead cost, I want to get the most out of the visit at that house with that truck.
Yeah. Awesome. And so out of curiosity, and I'm sure every avenue is different, but when owner operators came to you, let's say a lawn maintenance or your pool guy, he came to you, was it a position within the company with equity management type of investment, or was it return on the investment input into the company?
For me, so it was a combination of both. So sometimes it would be, I would buy the company, like a plumbing company.
Yeah.
He was about to go bankrupt, so I just bought the corporation, paid off all his debts. He was just one truck. Well, he might have had two trucks on the road, but there was only two people, him and a helper.
Yeah.
No office structure at all. So I bought that company, paid off all the debts, and then I went and bought 7 trucks. There was another company going out of business. We hired all their mechanics, and literally overnight, we had 8 trucks on the road and became the largest plumbing area. So what I did there was I bought that company from him. He was an employee of the company.
Yeah.
He took a salary. I would take a salary in a structure like that as the CEO. He was the president. So we both would take a salary. So I got paid while I was coaching, managing, and all that. And then I sold the company back to him at a predetermined price once it hit a certain level.
Yeah.
So I said, build this company into $1 million company, I will sell it back to you for X and I'll finance it.
Right.
So that's what I would do with people like that. Somebody that came to me, like the Pool Spa Landscaping Company, that was just a 50-50 deal. He came, he did all the work. I put up all the money to build the company, create the brand, and then we just split the profits. And then I sold that. I sold my share back to him after a 5-year period. So any combination of those. And today what I do is I invest my intellectual capital, and I'm on the boards of several companies right now, to where I coach and mentor and help grow the business. I find and bring capital, to the venture once it gets to that point in exchange for equity. So that's kind of how I do it now. And I'm not really interested in really small businesses like that anymore. That's when I was younger and, I was doing a lot of different things. And, if this business made $100,000 a year, that was fine.
Yeah.
Now it's not really worth my time, energy, and effort. So I get involved in companies that have the ability to scale. So I'll take equity positions in exchange for intellectual capital and raising outside capital.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually. Okay. So you're in front of this building here. We'll get off of the small business model, get back into some real estate a little bit.
Yeah.
This business here, it looks like some sort of commercial building. You got a handicap deal and you got a metal roof. Is it something you own or looking to own? And it looks like maybe medical space or retail?
Well, it used to be an Outback Steakhouse, and it's been out of business for a while. So the building's just kind of sitting there. A new steakhouse was built next door. So yeah, I'm looking at it. It was a restaurant, and I'm thinking it could be, medical office, dental, chiropractic, something like that. And it's vacant, and there's a chance to get it at a very good price. So what I'm looking at today for a building like that is to put a internet, insulated business in place, which is your core services. So the economy we live in today, we're in a consumption or service economy. So from an agrarian society to an industrial society to, the internet boom, now we are living on core services and consumption. That's what's driving this economy. We're not really creating anything.
Yeah.
We're not really manufacturing anything to really drive the economy like during the tech boom. And when I say tech boom, I'm talking going from 8-track tapes to cassettes to CDs to the iPod. We've kind of maxed that out, right? There is no great technology boom that's really going to drive the economy like we've seen in the last 20 years. So what's driving it now is core services and consumption. People need a place to live. They got to eat. They go to the doctor. They've got to get educated. They got to buy clothes. They got to put gas in the car. Yeah. So those are your core services that you can't buy online 100%. You can't replace, especially medical, dental, chiropractic, professional services that can't work out of their house, and online. So those are the types of things I'm interested in. And when the economy tanks, and you have the little neighborhood strip centers like this building is surrounded by a neighborhood strip center. People are still going to get the coffee. They're still going to get their haircut. They're still going to get their nails done. You still got to get your dry cleaning done. And you're going to go out to eat at the fast food kind of places, right? Less expensive. So that type of stuff is going to survive any kind of an economic cycle, which we're in a boom. We're at the peak right now. We are waiting for a correction any day now. I know interest rates are low. They're going to keep getting lower, but at some point, all this is going to come home to roost. The real estate market's in a bubble right now that it's not going to be like 2009 necessarily because we don't have super hyperinflation. But as you mentioned, you're in the DFW area, very competitive climate. People aren't exponentially overpaying, but they are maxed out right now. We're not seeing hyperinflation on real estate prices another 2009 where people were paying anything, for property. You could buy something one day and sell it for twice as much the next. We're not there, and we are getting pushback on pricing at certain levels. Yep. But things are, cap rates are very compressed right now. There's a lot of institutional money looking for yield and just looking for bond play. So that's putting a lot of pressure on certain asset classes. But overall, if you think about in the worst case scenario of an economy, what are the core services people have to survive? So those are the types of things that are going to be safe. So that's what I'm looking at for this building.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah. I mean, especially if they got the retail strip next by, everybody's already there. So you're going to be top of mind as they pass by for any new dentist or doctor's office or, whatever.
The dock in the box thing is very popular right now. People would, you can pop in there, pay cash if you don't have insurance. So it's affordable. So that's a very good niche to be in right now as well.
Yeah. So question, because I viewed a couple commercial buildings here in the past couple of months, but it probably varies, and probably there's no real straightforward answer. But for this building here, would you go in, pretty up the curb appeal, and then get the interior prepped for a potential tenant, and then do a triple net build out and lease, or do you prep the interior as well and then bring tenants in to suit what you've built out?
Yeah. So in a single tenant building like this, I'm going to take care of the outside first, and then I'll hold the inside off for a tenant, because if you get a dentist, they're going to need a very specific build out, or an orthodontist or a chiropractor or a doctor,
Right.
Professional office. So since this was a restaurant, it's going to need to be gutted. So I might go in there and gut it, or something like that. I'll definitely do the outside, go in and gut the inside, and then I'll wait till I get a tenant. And typically once I pull the trigger on this thing and start due diligence, I'm hunting tenants as well at the same time. So typically it'll be a build to suit, so I'll have somebody. Now, if it's a smaller strip kind of place, then you can kind of carve it up and you can do the basics. If it's going to be office, you can do carpet paint, things like that. So it looks nice and it's presentable. You do it neutral,
right?
Because you're going to get more value and you can ask more. If it's an old musty, office space and the carpet's moldy and the walls are messed up, people just aren't going to put a lot of value on that.
Yeah.
So it's just like flipping a house, right? You want it to present as good as it possibly can outside and in, if it's usable as is. If there's a significant repurpose or build out, then you want to make the outside appealing and you want to gut the inside so they can have vision.
Right.
And anybody who needs to do a build out, they're going to know that they've got to do some work. But you don't want to go into an old, musty, sticky, smelly restaurant. Since I'm going to repurpose the building and not keep it as a restaurant, which is a strategic, because there's so many restaurants in our town, I don't feel like that's a good use for this building. And I feel like I'd have turnover trying to put another restaurant in there, if I buy this building. So, that's kind of how I approach that.
Yeah. So that, you would gut it. I mean, with so much smoke and grease and stuff, would you pull the drywall out and just make it fresh drywall and then concrete down, and they come in with their own vision? And do you allow them to bring their contractors in, or do you bring yours in?
No. So, generally most tenants are going to have their own contractor, and I stay out of that part of the equation, because there's too many things that can happen there, with them saying you didn't do this or that. And so I just give them a tenant allowance and I let them do their own thing and hire their own contractors and handle that.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So when I say build to suit, I'm not going to do it for them. When I say build to suit, it's kind of, they'll build it to suit their own needs. So build to suit generally means the owner will build what you want, but I stay out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm not in that business anymore.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. And then we're jumping around because you're doing so much, but I don't know else how to do it. But in the beginning, before we started recording, you were in, or are in development. And I thought you said commercial, or multifamily development.
So both, so I do residential. I still flip houses. My wife loves to do that. So if a good deal comes along, I'll buy it and I turnkey outsource it all. I've got contractors and I let them handle it. My wife likes to pick stuff. Yeah. So I'll do that. I'll do infill development where I'll tear something down and build residential back in its place.
Right.
Or spec houses. I still build spec houses, but I do that with other contractors turnkey. They supply everything. And then I do commercial, like I'll build buildings like this ground up. I'll build strip centers ground up. I'll build multifamily ground up.
Yeah.
So I'm working on some deals all throughout the Southeast for some ground up opportunity zone projects. But again, it's not me literally physically doing everything. Now I do visit every site. So that's why I'm on the road every day, because I won't buy, I will buy stuff sight unseen, but if I'm going to develop a project, at some point I'm putting feet on the ground, bend down, grab the dirt, smell it, feel the area out. Before I close, I go put boots on the ground and I feel that area out. I have bought residential sight unseen because that's not that critical, but for commercial, I want to know what's surrounding the area. What do the rooftops look like? What do the demographics look like? What kind of feel do you get? Is the area in transition? Is it on the back end of that? Is it coming around? So, you can Google map a lot of things, but they're not really up to date. So I love to be boots on the ground with stuff. So, those, again, I'm at the point in my life where I can do whatever I want. So I like to do a lot of different things. And, these days, if you're going to be narrowly focused in the type of real estate you're investing in, then you have to be broad in your geography. If you're broad in terms of the types of things you invest in, So I've operated in, so I do, all the different types of commercial real estate. And a lot of people confuse type and class. Real estate is an asset class. Then there's type. There's 6 types of real estate within that asset class. Just like cash is an asset class, gold is an asset class, stocks. So the types of real estate are, office, retail, hospitality, industrial, multifamily, and land. Those are the 6 types of commercial real estate. Within those types, you have your class A, B, C, D. And you can say F, some stuff, but it's really A, B, C, D. So I have a broad geography, so I have a broad type of real estate and businesses that I invest in. But if I was, actually my geography is kind of narrow because I stay in the Southeast. Now, if I was going just multifamily, you're going to have to go across the country. If that's all you want to do is multifamily, you have to open up your geography.
Right.
So that's kind of why I am the way I am. I've always been limited to this region. I really like this region. So I've broadened the types of things that I invest in so that I can kind of stay just in this little short region.
Yeah. So what do you say about, or to the people that say or coach, stay in your lane? Meaning if you're a flipper, you stay a flipper. You don't think about commercial or multifamily or mobile home parks or RV parks and stuff like that. Because it sounds like you're the exact opposite, which is kind of like where my mind is always at. But then I have to sometimes, all right, you're a flipper right now. Don't be looking at the shiny object deal. What do you say to those type of people?
Yeah. So I say whatever's working for you and you have opportunity to scale, do more of it and scale. But you're gonna reach a point in diminishing returns a lot of times in flipping houses. Yeah. There's just only so many of those you're going to do in your area, but you can go pretty far with it, right? So for me, I maxed out with what I was doing in my area. So I wanted to grow, so I had to do other things. And I'm a little adult ADD, right? So I like to stay busy and do different things. I've got a lot of energy, and I love to help people. I love to get involved, build businesses, build companies. But for some people, I tell them, hey, for everybody, I say, whatever you're doing right now that's working, double down on that, do the most of it you can, grow and scale that, and then look to invest those profits into other things that don't require your time, energy, and effort exponentially, right? So that's what you want to do. So I think that's great for people that can multitask, because you what you really should be looking to do is build your flipping business and scale that through others. Then you can go start another business. So if you look at Amazon, Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, Sam Walton, they aren't singularly focused on one thing. You can say one was with the retail, but man, he was all over the country, opening stores everywhere. So he wasn't doing just one thing in one area. Warren Buffett's got hundreds of companies, right? So it all depends on your capacity, your abilities, and your skills. So if you are wired as such a way that you're a leader, delegator, motivator, then you can have a number of things going on through others. Richard Branson, Mark Cuban. So, I mean, when you look at the great leaders of our industry today and in the business world, very few of them are singularly focused on one thing. So that is a limiting rule that works for a lot of people, because a lot of people just don't have that ability to multitask, and they don't have the ability to lead and delegate and do all that. So I think if you got to understand yourself, what your strengths and weaknesses are, focus on your strengths, go with your strengths, hire out your weaknesses. Don't even try to develop your weaknesses. Hire that out. Find out what it is you're at, scale that, stick with that, and do that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
no, that's great. That's perfect. Okay. So again, I'm going to skip around, but you're in a lot of building right now. In the initial crash, some of the indicators of something was going wrong was a lot of builders were going under. Where do you see the building outlook in the near to, 3 to 5 year future?
So that model's changed. So back in the day, pre-2009, the production builders were speccing. They were going out and developing neighborhoods without a sale.
Right.
That model has shifted. Very few of them are doing that now. They might be 1 or 2 houses ahead of the contracts, but generally all of their deals are structured. So if you're a land developer like me and you go buy raw land, you turn it into lots and sell it to a regional or national home builder, they're only going to take down a few, and then they're only going to buy as they sell. So they all learned their lesson, during 2009. So that's kind of how they're operating. So we're not seeing a huge inventory of new construction. You're seeing stuff selling as it's getting built. So And the home builders are doing well. Interest rates are low, so business population's growing, so things in that regard. In the commercial sector, it's a little bit different. So the commercial, those deals are multi-year deals where, some of these commercial projects and the cranes that you see in the air, those projects started 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So they are so far along, it doesn't matter. They've got to pull the trigger and they got to go. So
Right.
Hudson Yards in New York, for instance, there was an article recently about Hudson Yards that, this place is millions of square foot of office, hundreds of thousands of square foot of retail, tons of residential vacant in New York that was just built. This thing is, $400 or $500 million project sitting there vacant, nobody using it, right? Because the everything was baked in, the fees were already there, the money was already, being lent, so they had to go. So I think you're going to see, there's a lot of commercial speculation out there that I think you're going to see come home to roost,
Right.
just like we did in 2009. I'm really family sector where with short-term interest-only loans, that was the same residential setup we had in pre-2009. Everybody in the residential game were doing short-term interest-only loans, banking on a sale. So a lot of these multifamily deals that are being taken down are being done with a 5-year interest-only with no permanent back end beyond that, and banking on being able to refinance or sell at the end of that 3 to 5 year period. So if you're going to do an interest only, there's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you have a ceiling on it, and make sure you still have a permanent conversion, to a longer term loan at the end of that initial business plan phase. So whenever I see a deal that's being offered that doesn't have that extra component, I don't mess with it. And but that's also going to create opportunity in 3 to 5 years when they can't refinance or sell, assuming they may or may not be able to. I don't know where the economy's going, but all I know is that is a very dangerous place to be.
Right. Okay. So on that commercial topic there, and we spoke on it earlier about the internet deal and how you want a lot of companies that don't rely on the internet.
Right. That's retail, office and retail.
Right. So let's say with so many companies that are internet based, they all need warehousing and industrial places to hold that. How do you see that moving forward? Do you see an exponential growth? Because I know truckers like Amazon and Walmart are paying 6 figures out the door for new truckers. So there's obviously a huge demand for things that need to be shipped from location to location. Do you see that industrial space growing?
It is to a certain degree. So industrial is a great to be in, but what you have to watch there is Amazon's building their own fulfillment centers. So, you got to think of, okay, well, who am I going to lease to?
Right.
Just because the internet, world is growing, you got to think about, well, who am I going to build and who's going to be my tenant? So Amazon's building their own fulfillment centers. Walmart's doing the same thing, distribution center. Walmart has just now realized, wait a minute, so what Amazon is trying to do is they're trying to have a fulfillment center in every neighborhood so they can deliver, on demand.
Yeah.
Right. Walmart finally realized here in the last couple of years, wait a minute, we have fulfillment centers in every neighborhood already across the country. They didn't wake up to the internet thing and to the online thing until a couple of years ago. And they're spending a lot of money, to the tune of close to $1 billion trying to rework their technology to compete with Amazon. And now Amazon's buying grocery stores. So they are creating distribution centers that way. So you're not going to lease to Amazon. They're not going to be your tenant. Walmart's not going to be your tenant. Target's not going to be your tenant. So you have to think, who is going to be my tenant? And, and it's not going to be your mom and pops, because that's all going to be drop ship. So if you're going to do industrial, you got to think about, these fulfillment centers that aren't Amazon and these other guys that are going to serve some of these smaller niches. So I'm not so sure the online retail space is in industrial right now. I think it's more seeing a lot of opportunity there, smaller contractors, office warehouse kind of thing, flex space, those types of things. So
interesting.
The industrial play is interesting. And some of these inland ports with the trade, and things like that in the areas that I'm in, like, we have the Norfolk area where, we have the port there. Up in Maryland, you have the port there. They're expanding big time in those areas. And I do have a friend who's one of the largest warehouse owners in Virginia. And, what they do is they do third-party logistics. And where they're really have got a niche is in refrigerated storage. So they're going into these different locations on the truck lines and rail lines, and they're building warehouses that are refrigerated. That's kind of a neat little niche there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great point. I mean, well, I bring that up because I'm trying to work out this deal with this 36,000 square foot warehouse. 8,000 of up front is office, and I'm like, I don't have any idea who my tenant's going to be potentially. But then my thought was, well, shipping and logistics, that makes plenty of sense. But then you bring up a pretty valid point. Amazon, Walmart, all these places, they're not leasing these buildings. They're not using them as intermediary checkpoints. They're building their own the way they want it. They're building the suit for themselves. So that's
So a great use of that building could be, co-working is a huge thing. So maybe the front office space gets turned into a co-working office space and, little turnkey en suites for people in common room and all that. And then the open one great use for warehouses like that, that's a smaller building, is you could do an industrial co-working space. So maybe, it's just open space. Maybe you've got marketer, you've got, craftsmen. Maybe there's a brewery or a distillery that needs, storage and staging space, so they're in a, or some sort of a small manufacturing company where they've got a retail outlet, where to, store and, again, third-party logistics. So you want to create an open environment that can be easily partitioned off and that you can, change that space in its industrial flex space. So that's a really cool use that's very popular right now with old warehouses like that.
Okay. Awesome.
And then you're spreading your risk out over a number of tenants versus having one big tenant.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were thinking. It's got a funky layout, but
contractors, there's a lot of contractors that need indoor yard, right? So, to put certain equipment or materials or whatever. So you put the word out to contractors, hey, we've got a space here where you can keep equipment, tools, then you can partition off very inexpensively with warehouse fencing.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I'm going to make note of that real quick. Okay. So, well, that was pretty much my questions as we were evolving there. But you had mentioned that you're taking these small companies and you're buying them and coaching them and pushing them towards the future. I feel like I have a feeling that that's kind of like one of your main business models is you help people grow in those aspects. Did I gather that right?
Yeah. So I do coaching and mentoring. And so I've got, a one-on-one mentorship program. People have been asking me for courses on commercial real estate and development. So I'm getting ready to come out with interactive online courses for that.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that, for people that want to learn, how to do that, as well as the residential side, growing and scaling and doing that efficiently. So I do that. And I also get involved with companies on an intellectual capital standpoint. So I will come in and mentor and coach for equity. So I do that in some companies. So I've got a couple different things, and I just love it. It keeps me intellectually stimulated. I love helping people, growing people. It's what excites me. I'm in a position where I can do it,
right?
And it's something that's needed. And I'm just one of those guys that people always reach out to me. I'm in college town. We have the University of Virginia, and we have the Darden School of Business, which is one of the top MBA graduate schools in the country, business programs. And I get, students all the time, both grad students that just got out of college, are working on their MBA, that come to me for advice. And then people that are in the corporate world going back to get their MBAs and coming out looking for advice and things like that. So, and businesses. So people are always reaching out to me, for things. So that's kind of how it all evolved. That's how I started all these companies. That's how I've started doing coaching and consulting. Mentorship, things like that. It's just people coming to me saying, hey, will you help me with this? So I've turned that into a business. And as I get older, I'm going to be doing more and more of that. And I still do my deals. So, it's a lot of fun. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in, say, let's say 2020 and then 5 years and beyond?
Really what I'm after right now is growing. What I'm really excited about is we are in a new media economy, right? So I call it new media economy, and attention is the currency of that economy. So what I am generating now and building is a media company that has these things. So the online, school for entrepreneurs, right? So that's really what that's going to be. Interactive online school for entrepreneurs. So people that can't go to college, can't afford to go to college, I'm going to have different programs for building businesses, buying businesses, scaling businesses, from the entrepreneurial standpoint, real estate, commercial and residential. I have separate programs for that. So that's going to be an institute, almost like an online university, but it's going to be much more affordable. It's not going to be $100,000, for 4 years. I mean, these are going to be interactive, on-demand type training to where, 90 days, 6 months, a year, whatever, you will be able to go out and apply these skills at a very affordable price without having to go to school and take all these classes.
Right.
So I really want to build that out because I think there's a real big need for it. And there's really still nothing like that out there right now. And then the media company. So, again, I'm a marketer, sales. I love that. So building the media company in and of itself, just to share my experiences, to share the wisdom that I've gained over the years and to just try to help as many people as I possibly can. So that's what I really envision building out right now, and having a center for entrepreneurship that has that a media company and then has these outlets. One of the products in the program will be sales and media, marketing, those types of things, how to become a media company with your products.
Right. It's awesome. It's awesome. I feel like this conversation can go on forever, just talking about every single different niche you're in, but that's amazing. That's amazing.
It's a lot of fun, and I do a lot of different things. Now, back to your business. So you're flipping houses and doing that. So where are you at right now? What does your deal count look like? What's your goals with that?
So right now we've got 7 properties in some phase of construction. So or listed. So we've got 2 houses on the market, 2 houses under renovation, 2 rentals under renovation, 2 leased, and then hopefully Thursday, we don't know yet, it keeps getting delayed, but Thursday or Friday, I'm buying a small 15-unit apartment complex with the small storage next door. But this is my first year of going into passive income. I've only been doing this for about 2.5 years. And so the idea is to continue flipping into the future, while kind of what you're saying is make the money here, put it somewhere else. And so to put that into apartments and storage is where I want to be. Yeah.
So on the flipping side, how are you structured there? Are you self-performing any of that on the renovations and repairs? Are you using GCs? How are you doing that?
Yeah. So I don't do any of the work anymore unless it's something that my fiance Ashley wants to do. So we'll go do some landscaping every once in a while. Maybe we'll do some demo work if we get bored, but for the most part, I've got a small GC that handles all of them.
Yep. So that's the way to do it. And that's the way to scale there is you get, 1 or 2 core crews, you have standardized pricing, you know how long everything takes, it's going to cost. So you can just stamp that out and there's, you can just put that thing on auto. It's interesting how, I can do 20 deals a year, structured like that. It really doesn't take that much work. If you're not a realtor, then you get a realtor and they do all the real estate side for you and you don't have to do anything. I mean, you're supplying money basically is what you're doing. So that is very scalable. So I say for you, if you've got that system in place, I would double down and scale that to create as much cash as you can right now to invest in those other assets as you go along. Because I know it's competitive right now, but like those little deals that you're finding, you'll get into bigger deals as you go along. And I think over the next 3 to 5 years, some of these, syndications we're seeing are going to blow up, and there'll be, really good opportunities to step in and take some of those over.
Yeah.
Those are businesses that can be assumed. Right. So that's what's going to be really cool about these multifamily storage facilities, things like that. 3, 4, 5 years from now, when some of these people don't have a lot of experience, have over leveraged, missed estimated, on their things, and then just short term debt.
Right.
There'll be some real opportunities to step in and take some of those over.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of where I wanted to go. My problem right now is, at one point I was doing a significant amount of marketing, but I've since dialed that down. So I've got my crew in place, and I feel like we could probably handle 10 to 20 flips at a time, no problem. And now I'm getting more and more opportunity for private money. So the money's there. It's just deal flow. These wholesalers come out with horrible deals. So then now it's back to me trying to find my own deals again. And it's been a burden there, but.
Well, it is, because there are wholesalers out there that are kind of, messing up the valuation. So the key is to be a clearinghouse for the wholesaler. So, you want to be the guy that the wholesalers come to, and you just tell them,
Right.
hey, here's what I can pay.
Yeah.
This is the way the deal's going to work, and try to educate them in advance.
Yeah.
So say, hey, wholesalers, you guys are spending a lot of money in your marketing. Here's where these deals need to be to work. So you need to reverse engineer that through the wholesalers, be their clearinghouse, say, look, I can buy all the deals you have, but you got to get them at this price. And if you come across a deal before you get it under contract, give me a call.
Yeah.
So you want to help them, coach them how to find deals for you.
Yeah.
You'll be much more effective that way than you will trying to compete with them.
Right.
Now, you're a realtor, so you can get the listing as well, and you've got that whole side. So there is an advantage to you, competing on that level as well. And a lot of the wholesalers, you can, pay them a marketing fee for leads if you get a listing or something on the real estate side.
Right.
Didn't say pay commission. I said marketing fee.
Marketing fee, yeah.
Sell leads, a lead fee. So you could do that. So there's a couple of ways you can work that angle. But for me, that's what I do. I buy from wholesalers. I coach them. I tell them where it needs to be, how to negotiate the deal, as opposed to me, mailing or doing, things like that. Mailing works. I know a lot of people. I've got some of the top wholesalers in the country that I coach that are, they're doing 200-300 deals a year. And they're still having a lot of success with direct mail, but they're mailing out, $50,000 a month worth of direct to get that kind of volume. Yeah. So you got to have a machine in place. Online is very effective right now. Internet, SEO and pay-per-click is still very effective because those are people that are seeking out help. And with you being on the real estate side, a lot of those deals are retail, but you can take advantage of that. So there are still ways that you can effectively market and have a competitive advantage. But man, wholesalers are a great resource.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the angle I took is I was tired of spending, and I was the small player, $10,000, $15,000 a month on marketing and only grabbing a couple deals a month. So I dialed that back to concentrate on my flips. And as I built my social presence, some of these new wholesalers or aspiring wholesalers would come to me, and just over the months, we've been communicating and kind of quote unquote coaching them and telling them how I run things, how I evaluate, and my price points, the safe areas, I think, and so forth. So my my first 3 rental properties, I bought off a wholesaler that had never contracted a property or assigned a property. So I said, it looks good on face value. Just go view them. I'll go direct to the seller. I'll contract it. We'll write you into the contract and we'll pay you at closing. So that way he was able to see the whole process and kind of get a hands-on feel while getting paid and, a nice chunk of money.
Cool. So I'll give you 2 little secrets today. And, here's your little marketing hook, right? The 2 things you need to know to get more deals, right? So, there are no secrets. We all know that. There's nothing new under the sun. So there are still MLS deals if you use this strategy. So with MLS, you want to look for deals that have been on the market longer than the average days on the market by 50 to 60 days minimum that are vacant and have had price reductions. So you should be combing the MLS, looking for vacant properties that have been on the market 30 plus days longer than average days on market and have had some price reductions. And you just go in and you make offers, wherever you feel like you need to be on those. And that can be outsourced. So you can have an assistant or somebody looking for that and firing those offers off because you got to make a lot of them. But you'll get 1 in 10, with that strategy. A lot of people just give up on MLS. The other thing for MLS is expireds. So a lot of people go after expireds for relistings. You could go after those as a cash buyer. As a realtor, hey, Mr. Jones, hey, we can relist your property. You know what you've already been through, or we can pay you cash and I can give you X. But I'm an investor. Fix them up and flip them just like you see on HGTV. I can pay you 100. If you list it, you might get 125, but we don't know how long that's going to take. Right. Whatever the number is. So those 2 strategies with MLS are still working and are still very effective, to find deals. A lot of people just ignoring these days. And I'll tell you another one that I'll give up on. And this just happened to me. I'm coaching somebody through a deal right now. It's her first deal, and it was a complete gut rehab. And this was in foreclosure. It was advertised in the paper. So a lot of people, I'd never bought a property from the auction, and I don't go to auctions, which is a great place to meet cash buyers and that kind of thing. What I do look for is the foreclosure listings, and I'll call them and try to buy them before they go to foreclosure. And that's what they did was they bought this house. They found it. I helped them track down the owner, and they bought the house the day before it went to the courthouse steps. And they got it $100,000 under market because it needed a complete gut rehab. So a lot of people aren't paying attention to foreclosures, and they're not going after the owners and making offers to the owners and saying, look, we can buy this thing, doesn't have to go through foreclosure and save you a lot of headache. Some owners don't care, but again, if you get 1 out of 10, doesn't That's something that you can outsource to an assistant. And it's a whole different strategy to foreclosures. You don't want to go to the courthouse steps. You want to buy them before they go into foreclosure.
Yeah.
Or before they get sold at auction.
Right. Yeah,
I was trustee, because they're going to tell you, we're not going to do anything. You got to call the owner.
Yeah. Most of last year and early into this year, that was my main marketing strategy. Was I had my VAs in the Philippines pulling the county records, but our major 4 counties here, there's a local provider for that list. So I was doing a scrub down marketing to that list. There had to be at least $80,000 difference between the assessed value and the original loan value, and under a $250,000 assessed value. So then that made that list. But then the counties that provider didn't do, my VAs would go into that county assessor's site and pull off that foreclosure list and do the same scrubbing, and I would market to those.
Now, what would you do? Were you mailing them or calling them?
So at one point I was doing all of it. Most of it was mailing. So if it was foreclosures or substitute trustees, it was 1 or 2 mailings depending on what county it is and how much I actually wanted to be in that county. And then we actually, at one point we were mailing them, emailing them, texting them, cold calling, and ringless voicemails. But then I found some new laws about the emailing, so I cut the emailing out, and then ringless voicemails were working. I was getting some responses, but it wasn't enough for me to continue doing it. And so I think I did it for about 5 months. After 5 months of doing it and only getting a handful of deals and getting a lot of threats to be turned into the attorney general, I was like, I'll just shut it off. There's so many other wholesalers out there. I'll just like, all right, I'm done marketing to foreclosures. And so now I just do primarily probates, driving for dollars, and some code violations and water shut-off lists and stuff like that.
Yeah. And, for me, cold calling has always been the most effective, especially in a foreclosure situation. You've got a license, and so do I. So it's really easy, and you can disarm them. The best cold calling script out there is, hey, this is Brandon. Calling about your house. I know it's going into foreclosure. I'm a realtor as well as an investor. So that kind of disarms them, right away. I'm a realtor as well as an investor, and just wanted to see if there was an opportunity to help you here. I buy houses, fix them up, and sell them just like you see on HGTV.
Yeah.
That line right there is huge at disarming people on a cold call, because then they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that, versus, the wholesalers that are trying to sneak and trick. And, there's a lot of guys out there that are very elusive in their conversation. I work with a group of investors, and we want to buy one more house in the neighborhood.
Right.
People are seeing that from 20 different people. So they're very, guarded when you call. So you use that script. We buy them, fix them up, and sell them just like you see on HGTV. That kind of brings them down. And I've never had anybody ever get upset with me when I tell them I'm an investor. And, like you see on HGTV, I have to buy it at a price so that I can fix it up and make a profit. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So here's what I can pay as an investor. As a realtor, here's what you can get. It can be listed on the market. I don't do that, but I have great realtors that I can refer you to if you want to go that route. But look, you got a foreclosure coming in 5 days. I can pay cash for this thing, take care of all these liens and judgments, help you wipe all that out, where you can come out of this thing, without having to worry about them coming back after you, which they probably aren't going to do, depending on your financial situation, but they can.
Yeah.
So that's the conversation script, that I use when I'm talking to people going into foreclosure, and it works with commercial as well as it does residential. That same stuff works, over and over. But the problem with mail is, everybody's getting the same thing. Now, I saw something yesterday. I checked my mailbox. I was like, man, that's great. So there was a piece of direct mail in there. It was a full-size 8.5 by 11 postcard material, but it looked like a proposal, like a handwritten, proposal.
Yeah.
And it was Pella windows, and they were advertising, the special that they're offering for windows. And I'm like, man, that's a great direct mail piece. It's 8.5 by 11. I looked at it when everything else went in the trash. I didn't even look at anything else that was junk. Yeah. But this, I looked at it and read it just because it was so neat and different. So if you're going to send direct mail, send something big like that people see, because you're different. You'll stand out. You've got, however you want to do it, your face, it's personal. We buy houses and fix them up and sell them just like HGTV. Use that line on there so it disarms people, and they're more trusting than that final notice and third notice and want to buy one more, all that stuff.
Yeah,
It's right there. They don't have to open it. That was
Yeah.
really cool. I thought that was a neat little marketing piece.
Yeah, actually, at one point, I was sending out full signed contracts to every single house in the neighborhood, so they would get a 8x11 Manila class envelope with me with a full 9-page contract signed and executed, and all they had to do was call me back and sign the bottom, and I never got a deal from it. But I had 2 neighborhoods I was choosing, so I was sending out 600 signed contracts a month, and nothing came from it. But I thought it was cool.
I had some friends that, so I used to do that back in the day, and what I would do is put a copy of the earnest money check in there with it, so that they could see, or the cash check to purchase the house cash.
Yeah,
so they could see there's a copy of a check.
Yep.
So I used to include that in it, but I had some friends that do the wholesale land thing, where you go, 25 miles outside of a major metro area, 25-mile radius, and you farm all the worthless land out in that area below whatever on the tax value.
Yeah.
And that's what they would do. They would send out 10,000 pieces a month, or 10,000 contracts a month to these landowners.
Yeah.
They didn't do any marketing mail. They would send contract. I wouldn't call them. They would say, I'll buy your land. Here's my price. All they had to do was sign it and send it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I even tried the check thing for a while. And actually the check deal did actually work. I would do the check up top. Yeah. With the picture of their house below. But when I stopped doing foreclosures, I pretty much stopped sending those checks too. But they're in my closet, but I had boxes and boxes of checks still that I haven't sent out. But
yeah. Well, the biggest way right now is to get to the wholesalers that are out there doing it, that you can reason with and talk to, and get them working for you, not coming to you after the fact. That's really the fast ball in a lot of bigger markets like yours, because everybody's a wholesaler in Dallas now. And I mean, if they're not, they will be tomorrow, right?
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you got to get to those people and help them, so that they can help you.
Right.
And you can hold events, do regular events, and try to find all the wholesalers in your area and say, hey, I'm a cash buyer. Let me come to this. Let me show you how to buy these houses so we can work together. So that's a great way to do and train wholesalers in your area. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. You've been sitting in your car for an hour. I always ask everybody one question. If you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
If I had 6 months to live, I would, try to help as many people as I possibly could in that time, give back as much as I possibly could, give away all my money, everything.
Yeah.
And, just try to leave the mark on this world as best as I possibly could. And spend, as much time as I could with, the people that are the most important.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how I'd do it. I agree. Okay. And then how can people contact you? What's the best form or avenue of reaching you?
Yeah, everything's on my website, gregdickerson.com. I've got a YouTube channel. I do videos every day, just different things that I'm doing, different techniques. It's a podcast as well. So I've got my podcast YouTube channel, gregdickerson.com.
Okay.
Emails on there if people want to reach out. And like I said, it's keep an eye out for the courses. Those are coming soon. And,
that's exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with myself and the audience.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and would love to do it again.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Brandon. Take care.
Thanks a lot.